This has to be one of the most unselfish offenses in the country.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? I'm Dalton Pence. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the #1 sports podcast network in the world. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. A lot of stuff to get into on the show today. Football lost on Friday 20-19. A lot went wrong in that game for the Cardinals. We'll break it down. We will analyze what Miller Moss had to say. His comments going viral, and a lot of Louisville fans are not happy. But we'll start out with some positive talk. The men's basketball team, stop me if you've heard this before, scored over 100 points and picked up another win. So that's where we will begin. The Cardinals defeated Ohio at home on Saturday, 106-81. It was a rather, I don't know that I would say comfortable. Like, Louisville was winning this game by double digits for the vast majority of the afternoon, but the game was never really in harm's way. And you wondered after the emotional high of that Kentucky win on Tuesday, whether or not human nature would take over and you would have some sort of a letdown game. And Pat Kelsey alluded to that in his post-game press conference, talking about, well, our preparation was just as it had been against South Carolina State. We were extremely focused and dialed in. Now, I thought that at times Louisville played pretty sloppy against the Bobcats was because they were riding that emotional high from the Kentucky win. I'm not necessarily so sure. I think that there are some things that they still need to clean up. It's still early on in the season, and what you see on the court is far from being a finished product. But what I didn't really understand until I went afterwards and looking into the box score is that Louisville shot 46% from three, 16-35. It really didn't feel that way. Like, yeah, they made some threes, but I guess I just didn't fully comprehend and wrap my head around the fact that the Cardinals offense was firing on all cylinders. This is such an electric offense. And what they're doing, yes, it might be against some inferior competition, but they played 4 games, and the lowest amount of points that they've scored thus far is 96 points. I mean, it's awesome to sit here and witness what they're doing. They're so unselfish. 5 players, 5 starters, all scored in double digits. Just being able to look at how balanced this approach has been incredible. The Cardinals are actually only 8th in the country, averaging 102.8 points per game. It's second in the ACC. NC State is scoring 106, but don't forget, the Cardinals played Kentucky and they still scored 96 points against the Wildcats. So looking at this game against Ohio, like I mentioned, 5 players in double digits in the starting lineup, 6 players total. Adrian Wooley had 11 points off the bench. Ryan Conwell led the way. As a team, the Cardinals shot 50% from the field. Conwell 50% individually, both from the field and the three-point line. 6 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 assists. Mikel Brown Jr. continues his hot start to the season, 19 points and a team-high 7 assists. So when you have one guy maybe not hitting early on, seeing his teammates pick him up, and that's the huge advantage of this offense is that I would imagine it's going to be very seldom that you see all 3 of Louisville's backcourt players missing at the same time, like going cold at the same time. Now, it's going to happen. You saw it against Kansas in the exhibition game. It's not always going to be times where you're scoring 100 points, but that's just the advantage is that Louisville has such good perimeter shooting top to bottom on their roster for the most part. That's why you went out and you got McNeely and Wooley and Conwell, and you got Mikel Brown Jr. in the high school class. It's almost like, I might say, Dalton, it's almost like Pat Kelsey was targeting a specific type of guard, one that could stretch the floor and knock down the three-point shot at a high rate, and you're seeing that pay off in huge ways for Louisville early on. I think the defense is where, if you look at where improvements are needed, it's on that end of the floor. Louisville did give up 81 points. Now, it goes without saying, when you play with that fast pace of play, the other team is by default going to get more offensive possessions and thus, by the numbers, probably going to score more points. When you are running up and down the floor the way that you are, the other team's going to score more points usually. I mean, that's kind of how that works. Ohio shot 44% from the field, 35% from the three-point line, and 77% from the free throw line. Louisville out-rebounded the Bobcats by 7. They recorded 6 less turnovers, and they had 11 more assists. So that 23-11 assist to turnover ratio, I think that's where you're seeing the success really take shape, is in that margin with that specific metric, meaning that you're being unselfish, passing the basketball, and you're taking care of the basketball. Now, defensively, I think that Louisville is still figuring some things out. Of course, I think defense is one of those things that it takes some time to gel on that end of the floor, whether it's just miscommunication, giving up open shots. Interior defense in this game, not bad, but not great at the same time. Felt like Ohio got some things going toward the rim. Jackson Pavletsky was incredible in this matchup. 28 points, took it to the Cardinals all afternoon long. Aiden Hadaway had a good game. J.J. Kelly as well. D.R. Connors, those 4 players. I mean, they only played 7 guys. And Louisville, outside of walk-ons, play, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys. So I credit Ohio. I thought that they played extremely hard. They weren't scared at all. They weren't shell-shocked by the matchup. They came in ready to go, and you just saw a Louisville offense that was too hard to contain and just felt like it was sloppy at times. Some certain plays, the ball bounced the right way for the Bobcats, is what it is. I'm not really going to critique too hard for a 25-point victory early on in November. But let's go through our 3 stars of the game. For those who don't know, I will go ahead and explain it. If you're an everydayer, then you'll understand what the 3 stars concept is. And if you're a hockey fan, you'll understand what it is. So 3 stars, I'm basically giving you my top 3 players of the game. The 1 star is going to be my MVP, and then going down in performance. Now, like the first couple of games, you could go in a multitude of different ways. Number 3, I'm going to go Mikel Brown Jr. 19 points, 5-11 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, 6 of 8 from the free throw line, 7 assists, had 3 turnovers, had a couple of mistakes that I thought he shouldn't have made. He did have 1 steal. Overall, I do think that there were also some shots that he took where I'm like, man, the shot selection was kind of questionable, but not really much of an issue with his performance. Continues to show that he's one of the best point guards in the country and one of the best point guard prospects for this upcoming NBA draft. I'm going to go with the 2-star being Adrian Wooley. Maybe not as impressive as a box score, but I think he's starting to find his footing with this Cardinals rotation. 24 minutes off the bench, 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block, 2 assists. Affected the game in multiple ways besides scoring. I thought his defense was really solid, and I know it hasn't been the easiest transition for him going from the mid-major level to the Power 5, but he has stuck with it, and I thought that each performance passing has been his best performance to date. So I'm going to go Adrian Wooley as the 2nd star. I think before we identify number 1, I do have to give a shout-out to Kobe Rodgers. He played 14 minutes but had 7 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal. Though I'm starting to really enjoy the Kobe Rodgers minutes, the high effort, high intensity, both ends of the floor. It's awesome to see. The number 1 star, the MVP of the game, was the leading scorer, Ryan Conwell, 50% from the field, 50% from 3, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. He had 22 points. He had a tied for game high 6 rebounds. He led the team with 3 steals, and he had 3 assists as well. Just like what I saw from him, got going early on. You're just seeing him consistently get close to 20 points on a nightly basis, just being able to go to him as that go-to scorer. But it's not just the scoring for me. The defense, the on-ball, or attention to the on-ball defense, ability to crash the boards, the willingness to crash the boards. So Ryan Conwell, my number one player in this game, my MVP, and getting the 1-star. Louisville get some time off. They're going to be back in action on Friday against Cincinnati up in Cincinnati. We will preview that matchup as we get closer and closer, but we got to have an unfortunate conversation about what happened on Friday night, because it feels like we're just regurgitating the same stuff when it comes to Louisville football. Let's have that tough discussion. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville. Don't go anywhere. We're covering your team 5 days a week, every day. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a larger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, we're free and available on all streaming services, including YouTube and TikTok. Also, thank you all to the everydayers. If you're making us part of your daily routine, we love to have you back. If this is your first time tuning in, then welcome. But thank you all so much for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network in the world. That's true. Definitely much appreciated. But what a fall it's been. And not like the season. I'm talking about like the action. What a fall it's been for the Louisville football team. After starting out 7-1 just 2 weeks ago, we were talking about being a potential college football playoff hopeful with everything to play for. And then the past 2 weeks have been purely chaotic, and the Cardinals have dropped 2 games at home to unranked teams. This time losing to Clemson 20-19 on Friday night. Louisville entered this game, I think, close to about either half a point or 1.5 point favorites over Clemson. So Vegas wasn't buying the fact that Louisville was ranked number 20 and 7-2 overall. And they were kind of not looking at Clemson's 4-5 record as gospel. It's like, yeah, this team I think might be a little bit better than that record suggests. But to perfectly summarize it all, you know Bill Murray in a specific movie, and you'll know the movie when I say it, or say the quote, but, well, it's Groundhog Day once again. I feel like that epitomizes everything. Like, I feel like I'm watching the same movie over and over and over. We talked about it. The first halves have been lackluster, and Louisville early on in the season and leading up to November have been able to overcome those first half mistakes, mishaps, whatever you want to call them, and play their best ball in the fourth quarter and come out victorious. That hasn't happened the past 2 weeks. Louisville found yet another unique way to lose on Friday night. We'll start out in the first half. The Cardinals allowed Clemson to go down the field, get a field goal in their opening drive. The Cardinals then answered pretty quickly after that. The defense made a big play. It was just kind of punt, trading field position. Louisville would then get the ball back on a short field, which honestly, Cade Klubnik tossed the ball back. If you want to call it an incomplete pass, whatever. But Miller Moss had the best throw of the night, hands down, to Chris Bell. And some people wanted to touch back. Should have been a horse collar. Whatever. Louisville ends up scoring. They get the ball back with about 5 minutes to go into the first half. They get the ball to start the second half. There's a chance to go up by double digits. It's 9-3 after Louisville misses the extra point. And there's a fumble in the Cardinals' territory. Duke Watson fumbles at the Cardinals' 21. And the very next play, Adam Randall runs it in from 25 yards out. And stop me if you've heard this before, the Cardinals are trailing at halftime. Now, Louisville answers very quickly in the second half. Play calling was great. They did everything they needed to. 7-play, 75-yard drive. Took almost 4 minutes off the clock. They went up. The team traded field goals, and the fourth quarter started. And Clemson's driving the ball down the field. They fumbled the ball on 4th and goal. Louisville recovers. Goal line stand. Ron English's defense once again bends but does not break. And the Cardinals then go 3 and out. There was a holding call on that drive where Keon Brown had a big run and got called back. And I thought officiating in this game was horrible. Officiating wasn't the reason Louisville lost this game. Still wasn't great officiating. Clemson would then go down, 6-play, 56-yard drive for a touchdown. That touchdown came with 7 minutes and 17 seconds, or 7:16 left in the fourth quarter. And at that point, this is when pandemonium happens. You're already hurting because the missed extra point looms large. It would have been tied. The Cardinals had 2 missed field goals in the final 7 minutes. Cooper Ranvier missed a 50-yarder. It is what it is. Clemson then mishandled the punt. The Cardinals got the ball 1st and 10 from, the Clemson 23-yard line. Couple penalties, and then it's 3rd and 29 at the Clemson 42. Keller comes out and misses a field goal, both of them wide left. Louisville is finding new ways to lose games, and it's extremely frustrating, and it's even more frustrating than the Cal game, in my opinion. 2 things here. I think that the decision to bench Cooper Ranvier was an interesting one. As good as he's been all season, yeah, extra point, not great, missed a 50-yard field goal, but he's been very, very good this season. I mean, looking at this game, Ranvier had a 39-yarder, and there was one more early on in the game, right, where he had a 51-yarder, made from 39, made from 51, and you take him out. I just don't understand. Like, of all the players that you're going to pull because of performance, Ranvier's the one. I'm not sure what ended that decision. I just thought it was an odd decision. I thought that the time management at the end of the first half was pretty interesting. You're down 10-9. You have a chance to maybe get the ball back with the Colin Lacey return and be able to make some magic happen and get into field goal range. But you let the clock go down. And then Clemson, after 3rd down, when it goes to 4th down, then Louisville calls a timeout with like less than 5 seconds to go. And it's like, why call a timeout there where Clemson's just going to kick it out of bounds? I thought that the late half clock management once again was questionable. I thought the coaching in general was questionable. And we've got to talk about, we got to have a conversation about what is going on with coaching. Of course, some of it comes down to execution, just missing field goals, but play calling, an issue. Quarterback play, an issue. Defense, you can say what you want about the defense, but the fact of the matter is that Clemson had 308 yards of offense. They were 1 of 13 on 3rd down. They only scored 20 points. Louisville outgained them by almost 80 yards, and you lost the game. I hate to say it. Please don't think that I'm comparing the 2 eras, but the past 2 weeks, maybe not that much, but the Virginia loss and definitely the Clemson loss, the way Louisville lost is exactly why people wanted Scott Satterfield to leave Louisville. Were losses like these, where you dominated the yardage, you just couldn't make plays when you needed to. You lost the game in the margins. You didn't do the little things well. Now, I'm not saying fire Jeff Brom. Please don't put words into my mouth. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Jeff Brom hasn't done a significantly better job than what Satterfield did here. But leaving Cardinal Stadium on Friday night, it reminded me of a loss that Louisville would have suffered in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Just being honest. Speaking of being honest, I know you all been waiting for this next segment. Miller Moss had some intriguing things to say, and the quote went viral. The video went viral. Louisville fans are not happy. I don't blame them. I'll give you my reaction to them when we come back. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. College football still going on, right? I couldn't be more excited, even if Louisville's kind of struggling. I live for the atmosphere, the tailgates, rivalries, energy in the stands. There's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself, with the endless queues, hidden fees, and prices jumping out at checkout. That's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time before the game against Clemson, and just a couple taps, I saw all the amazing deals. Were able to have complete comfort of my decision. The app made it super simple. I could see the exact view from the seat before I was even buying. It's just faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way that I've ever bought tickets. So join me in taking the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Card Nation, tomorrow's show is going to be probably pretty football dominant. I would say we're going to have some conversations about this season as it relates to Jeff Brom. We're going to have a conversation about Deuce Adams, etc. But let's talk Miller Moss. Miller Moss on Friday night completed 19 of 27 passes for 212 yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. He got up on the podium on Friday night after the game and answered some media questions. And there was basically a question asked about the unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. And Miller Moss's answer has caused a lot of Louisville fans to be pissed off. Call it how it is. Louisville fans are pissed off. And I don't want to take the quote out of context. I want to give you the full quote so you can be the judge of what he says. So you can have your own opinion. But we're not going to selectively take parts of the quote. We're going to give you the full quote. Okay? I will preface it by saying that humans make mistakes. We're not all perfect. We do make mistakes. And sometimes we say things in certain ways that might not actively portray the manner in which we're trying to say it. Like sometimes we say things in certain ways that might not accurately reflect the sentiments of the thought. So I'm going to preface reading the quote with saying that if Miller Moss didn't mean it that way, then I get it. But the way that he said it, it's tough. Here's the quote. Says this: I get it. You're competitive. It's getting to the end of the game. You want to do everything you can to win the game. The ultimate competitors have the greatest amount of focus in those moments. They're able to kind of flatline and stay even keeled. That's obviously something that we have to work on. End quote for the moment. He's right. That's completely spot on. I have nothing against that. 100% right. You can't get too high, can't get too low. He goes on to say this: I don't think something like that gets fixed week to week. That's a cultural thing and an off-season thing that's going to need to be addressed. More on that here in just a second. He does say something after that. He says it doesn't come down to any one thing or any one penalty. We own this as a team, and we all have each other's backs in doing that. You know what everyone's pissed about because you've likely heard the quote or you heard the video, you've seen the quote. I don't think something like that gets fixed week to week. That's a cultural thing and an off-season thing that's going to need to be addressed. When I first saw it, it was tweeted out by Mark Blankenbaker. I had to do a double take because I thought it was AI. I thought maybe it was a fake Mark account. No, real quote. Regardless of the way you mean it, it was interpreted one specific way, not only by Louisville fans, but by neutral fans as well. Because even if you didn't mean it in a malicious way, if you're saying it's a cultural thing, that's a shot at the program. And if it's an off-season thing that's going to need to be addressed because it can't be fixed week to week, there's only two ways that this can be a thing. If it's an off-season thing and it can't be fixed this season, it's either A, on the coaching staff, so you're throwing the coaches under the bus, or B, it's on the personnel of the team, so you're throwing the teammates under the bus. I usually try not to make something out of nothing. If it's like a nothing burger quote, this is the opposite of that. This is something that Louisville fans were already kind of pissed off about Miller Moss's play. And I know that he's shown how much he cares. And I don't doubt that he cares. He's shown how much he cared with the emotion he showed after the Miami win, things like that. So I've been trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. There's just no excusing the quote. There's just nothing you can say. If I personally were the head coach of the Cardinals, I think a change would be made at quarterback. I think Miller Moss would likely have played his final snap as a Louisville Cardinal against Clemson, and then you go to either Deuce Adams or Brady Allen on Saturday against SMU moving forward. I just don't know how you see what he said. And again, maybe it's me, but it's not just me. Social media has taken it to it's taking it to a new level. I know that social media doesn't accurately represent the majority, but I had people text me about it saying, did he really say this? Yeah. Does Braum view it that way? I'm not sure. I can't speak for the coaching staff. I can't speak for the locker room. It could have gone over, and maybe it's a nothing burger in the program. And if that's the case, it is what it is. But I don't know how you can directly call out the culture of the program, especially with the struggles that you're having, and it just be business as usual. Because Clemson coming into the game was averaging about 10 plays per game, where they gave up at least 10 passing yards in a play. Miller Moss attempted just 4 passes that went past 10 yards. 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. 4 passes all night. The play calling, that's a conversation we're going to have a little bit more of tomorrow. But I want you to think about this. Jeff Braum, of course, we've had some criticisms about his play calling, right? But last year, you were throwing the ball down the field a ton. Jeff Braum tailors his play calling around his quarterback strengths. And Louisville not throwing the ball down the field. Early on in the season, I thought it was a play calling issue. And now I realize that you're just kind of calling plays based upon the strength of your quarterback. And at the moment, your offense is very predictable because there aren't that many big plays unless you're running the football. Because teams know you're not throwing it deep. Louisville didn't throw it deep against Clemson. California said the same thing. It's like, hey, we're going to force you to dink and dunk your way down the field. So, again, going back to the quote, and we'll end here. I don't want it. I'm trying to be as fair as I can, understanding all the context. I wanted to introduce the full quote. I wanted to introduce the question, the context of the situation. Miller Moss says at the end of the quote, we own this as a team and we all have each other's backs in doing that. I don't disagree there, and he took accountability, but I just can't get over that 2-sentence part. I don't think something like that gets fixed week to week. Why not? Why not? Because even if you don't mean to, it's subliminally calling out someone, because if it can't get fixed week to week, then obviously it's either a problem with the coaching staff or it's a problem with the personnel. You have to wait to the end of the season to correct unsportsmanlike conduct penalties? I don't know, man. I don't know. 3 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in the fourth quarter. Can't happen. The discipline for the team, or the team's discipline, just hasn't been there this season because it's been an issue. But like I said, with this quote, even if you may believe it, you probably shouldn't say it. Final part of that is that's a cultural thing and an off-season thing that's going to need to be addressed. It will be different if he was a freshman or a sophomore quarterback and he's coming back and he says, you know what, I am going to be the change that I want to see with this program. He has 1 year. He had 1 year with this program. It's basically that Magic Johnson meme, I'm not going to be here. You know what I'm talking about? That meme with Magic Johnson? It basically feels like a slap in the face. Miller Moss is saying, yeah, you're all's problem, not mine. See you later. I think Deuce Adams needs to be your starter moving forward. And I'm going to explain why tomorrow. Again, you know where I've stood all off season, huge Miller Moss advocate. Early on in the season, I addressed offensive line play, the lack of a running game. I gave Miller every benefit of the doubt. That quote's tough. And if he didn't mean it that way, I know we all make mistakes. I'm going to reiterate that. We're all human. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know the intention of how he was speaking. But that's a tough quote. And you saw how Louisville fans took it. Not well. Not well at all. But can you blame them? Not so sure that you can. Not so sure that you can, because it feels like a slight at the Cardinals program. When we come back tomorrow, of course, we're going to talk about the quarterback play. We'll have some conversations about Jeff Brom and some coaching issues this season. I hate having this tone. Like, I hate the negative talk. I'd much rather this team be winning. Of course, you all know that. I don't find any satisfaction in having these tough conversations, but I would be doing you all a disservice if we didn't talk about it, right? We got to talk about it. But that's going to wrap up this Monday edition of the show. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Go Cards.